Hey, folks. Social violence. We've talked about the difference between social and asocial. And again, giving Roy Miller the props, he is the guy who came up with this. And I really like this model, and it's very, very useful as a rule of thumb. And part of the reason why I like that having such a simple model is you can apply it in a crisis. You can apply it in a situation where you need to figure out how to behave and what's the most likely response to get out of the situation and hopefully resolve it without having to use force. Um, Here's a question, and I'd like to think about it. Why do people become violent? Yes, that was a pause. Um, Now, I've asked rooms of cops this question, and it's fascinating all the different reasons that they give. And, it takes a little, like, come on, guys, come on, but they come up with all these different reasons, and they're really all true, actually. And that's the key thing. They're all true. All of these are reasons why people become violent. Sometimes they say it's fear, sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's. Every now and then, though, somebody will pipe up and say because they want something. And that is the underlying answer. And violence, they want something, and it looks like violence is a way to get what they want. Now, that's not a bad thing. That's, value judgments and moral judgments come later. That's just a statement of fact. And when somebody is looking at this, they want something, there's like, well, does violence work to get it? Is a very fast and effective way to get it. And sometimes, yes, the answer is violence is the most effective way to get what you want. Now, that's important to understand because social violence has at its base a deep roots in how we as humans operate. And we are, social primates. We operate in tribes, we operate in groups. And in groups there are hierarchies, and often there are frictions in a group. Well, social violence is over those kind of frictions. Now, there's all different ways that social violence can happen. There's all sorts of different reasons for it. Some of them are rule enforcement, and like this is how things are done here. Don't break that. Others are arguments over how we're treating each other. Um, you know, there's there are also times, by the way, that social violence can be used for safety issues, right? I watched a video, and there was huge outrage about this, that a crazy woman was trying to walk out into traffic, and a cop tackled her by the side of the road, and they were fighting, um, and she wanted to go walking in the middle of the freeway, and he wasn't going to let her. Um, Social violence can also be used as punishment. It can be used in all different kinds of ways, and that, I know that's a hot button term, but it's something we need to really look at and understand, because there's a difference between punishment, penance, and victimization, or abuse, if you will. They are not synonymous terms. Um, Violence can be used as a teaching tool. Now, all these different types of violence, um, think about them as you're fighting over how things are going to be done. And, like, you're fighting over who does the dishes. Okay? It can escalate and into physical, but, the idea is we're fighting for position and status in the group most of the time with social violence. Um, and it's such a huge thing that people have lost contact with. They don't understand that I mean, it can be a fight over which way the toilet paper roll, toilet paper goes in the roll, or it can be, for the protection of your group. I mean, all these types of violence. The goal, though, is to achieve something. Okay? The goal is not violence. And that's going to become a really important part later. But the more you look into why do we get in fights, why do we get in conflicts, you begin to understand that the nature of these conflicts dictate the rules. And yes, there are people, well, there ain't no rules in a street fight. Yeah, there are. That's a very unwise assessment. Because a lot of times, the social violence that you will find yourself, or a social situation, is over behavior. And it's that something is happening, and whether this person is behaving quote wrong, in that environment, or you're behaving wrong in that environment, it really often both people can believe that the other person is acting wrong, right? And that's kind of funny. I can't tell you how many fights I've broken up where they both claim they were defending against the other person. But again, when we're looking at this situation, this kind of violence comes with rules, if not rituals. And that is something that there's a big difference between not knowing what these rules and rituals are and that there are no rules, right? Well, the problem also is you get people with the idea that there are no rules. They think they're going to solve the problem with using massive amounts of force. No. That's the other thing, is not only are there rules, but social violence has levels and degrees. Starting with the fact that it is very, very seldom lethal, because that's not the goal. Right? That's something that people, somebody's in my face, he's going to try and kill me. No, that's not the intent. And, when I talk about violence has rules, or violence comes with instructions to avoid it, you will really, really, this COVID here is driving me nuts. You will really, really find these instructions, and they are true instructions. When it comes to social violence, the person is basically offering you an alternative. Give them what they want, and there won't be violence. That could be a physical thing, not so much. That's more territorialism of an issue, but 9 times out of 10, it's over behavior. And, I recommend you read Rory's book. We'll do more about this series, but the more you understand all the reasons why we get into conflict, you'll understand the different types of social violence.